The quantum gate flickered like a dying star. Council Prime Velthar stood before it, his crystalline body reflecting the fading light in 1,000 fractured colors. The gate had been built 200 years ago by human engineers. Back then it connected 50 star systems in an instant. Now it barely functioned at all. Velthar placed one transparent hand against the gate's control panel. The metal was cold and dead. Around him, technicians from a dozen different species worked desperately to keep the ancient machine running. None of them truly understood how it worked. They only knew how to replace parts and pray the system would continue for another day. How long? Velthar asked without turning around. A small furred creature nervously approached. 3 months at most, Prime. The fusion core is failing. We cannot repair it. We do not understand its design. 3 months. Then this gate would die like so many others across the galaxy. Trade routes would collapse. Colonies would be cut off. Species that depended on the human-built infrastructure would fall back into darkness. It had been happening for decades now. First slowly, then faster, the stellar forges stopped producing materials. The orbital habitats began losing atmosphere. The power networks flickered and died. Everything humanity had built was failing, and the Council had no idea how to fix any of it. Velthar turned to face his assistant. Send word to the Council. We must make the decision we have been avoiding. We must contact humanity. The assistant's fur stood on end. But Prime, no one has crossed the veil and returned. It is suicide. Then we die trying, Velthar said quietly. Because without them, we die anyway. On Earth, Ambassador Mireille walked through the gardens of the diplomatic complex. She was young, only 32, but already she carried the weight of representing humanity to a council they no longer spoke to. It was a strange job. Most days she had nothing to do except study old records and imagine what the galaxy had been like when humans were part of it. She had been born after the Exodus. Her parents told her stories of the great human cities among the stars, the partnerships with alien species, the golden age when humanity shared the cosmos with others. But Mireille had only ever known Earth and its surrounding colonies, all sealed behind the veil that kept the rest of the galaxy out. Her tablet buzzed. A message. That was unusual. She opened it and froze. It was encrypted in an old code, one she had only seen in historical documents, a council code. Someone from the other side of the veil was trying to reach her. Her hands shook as she decoded the message. It was short, desperate. We are dying. Your machines are failing. Billions will perish. Please, we need your help. Mireille sat down heavily on a stone bench. This was not supposed to happen. Contact was forbidden. The veil was absolute. Yet someone had found a way through, at least for a message. She should report this immediately. Protocol demanded it, but something made her hesitate. She had spent her entire life wondering about the galaxy beyond. Now it was calling to her. Before she could decide what to do, a shadow fell across her path. She looked up to see Commander Hyun standing there. He was old, one of the last humans who had actually lived in council space before the Exodus. His face was weathered and hard, his eyes cold. You received a message, he said. It was not a question. How did you know? Mireille asked. We monitor all channels. The council has been trying to reach us for months. Their messages are getting more desperate. He sat down beside her without invitation. Let me guess. They need our help. Their technology is failing. Mireille nodded slowly. Should we not help them? People are dying. Hyun was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was bitter. You were not there. You do not know what they did to us. Then tell me, Mireille said. Everyone speaks about the Exodus like it was voluntary. Like we simply chose to leave. But that is not true, is it? No, Hyun said. It is not true. He stood up and gestured for her to follow. Come with me. There is something you need to see. They walked in silence to a building Mireille had never entered before. It was unmarked, guarded by automated defenses. Hyun placed his hand on a scanner and the door opened. Inside was a vast chamber filled with holographic displays and data storage units. Hyun called it the archives. Every piece of information about humanity's time in the council was stored here, including the classified files. This is the real history, Hyun said, activating a display, the one they do not teach in schools. Images began to appear. Human cities on alien worlds, human scientists working alongside other species, humans building the great machines that now failed across the galaxy. It looked like paradise. Then the images changed. Secret meetings, council members discussing the human problem. Surveillance footage showing alien agents stealing human technology. Documents detailing a plan to frame humanity for crimes they did not commit. Mireille felt sick. They betrayed us, yes, Hyun said. We were advancing too quickly. Building too much. Some species feared we would dominate the galaxy, so they decided to stop us, through theft, lies, and sabotage. Why did we not fight back? We could have, Hyun admitted. We had the weapons, the technology. We could have crushed them. But Fleet Admiral June made a different choice. She ordered the exodus. We would leave, seal ourselves away, and let them live with the consequences of their actions. He pulled up another file, schematics for the machines humanity had left behind. Mireille recognized some of them from the message. The quantum gates, the fusion cores, the stellar forges. We left everything running, Hyun explained. But we built in fail-safes, timers, nothing obvious. Just normal wear and tear, programmed to accelerate after 2 centuries. We knew eventually they would need us again. That is cruel, Mireille whispered, is it? Hyun asked. We gave them a gift. Advanced technology that would benefit everyone. They chose to see it as a threat. They chose betrayal, so we gave them a lesson. What happens when you bite the hand that feeds you? Mireille stared at the displays. Her entire worldview was crumbling. The peaceful exodus she had been taught about was a lie. Humanity had not left to find their own path. They had been driven out by fear and jealousy. So what do we do now? She asked. Let them die? Hyun smiled slightly. It was not a kind expression. That depends. Have they learned anything? That is the question, Ambassador. After 200 years of suffering the consequences, have they changed? Or will they make the same mistakes again the moment we save them? Before Mireille could answer, alarms began blaring throughout the complex. Hyun's tablet lit up with urgent messages. What is happening? Mireille asked. Hyun read the messages, his expression darkening. A council ship has reached the Veil. They are attempting to cross. That is impossible. Nothing can cross the Veil. Nothing has before, Hyun corrected. But desperation makes people try impossible things. He looked at her seriously. Defense Director Somin has standing orders to destroy any council vessel that approaches. Unless you have a very good reason, that ship and everyone on it will be dead in the next 10 minutes. Mireille felt the weight of the decision crushing down on her. 200 years of isolation, 200 years of silence, and now someone from the council was desperate enough to risk certain death just to reach humanity. Maybe they had learned something after all. Stop her, Mireille said. Do not destroy the ship. I want to talk to them. Hyun studied her for a moment, then nodded slowly. The real test was beginning. Defense Director Somin stood in the command center, her eyes fixed on the screen showing the council ship. It was small and battered, clearly not a military vessel. Parts of its hull had been stripped away. Weapon systems were offline. Even the basic shields flickered weakly. They are dismantling themselves, Engineer Kwan said from his station. He sounded surprised. They are removing everything that could be seen as a threat. Life support is minimal. They are running on emergency power only. Soman watched the council ship drift closer to the Veil. The barrier shimmered like heat waves, a wall of warped space-time that had kept humanity safe for 2 centuries. Nothing had ever crossed it from the outside. Nothing had ever survived trying. They know they will die, she said quietly. They are coming anyway. Orders, Director? Her weapons officer asked. Shall I target them? Salmon's finger hovered over the authorization button. One press and the council ship would cease to exist. It would be easy, clean, final, just like protocol demanded, but something made her hesitate. Hold fire, she said. Let me hear their transmission again. Kwan played the message. The young alien voice filled the command center. Navik spoke slowly, carefully choosing each word. I am Council Emissary Navik. I was born after humanity left. I grew up in the shadow of your absence. I learned to read using human textbooks in abandoned schools. I studied engineering from human manuals we no longer fully understand. I know what my predecessors did. I know about the conspiracy, the theft, the lies. I come not to make excuses. I come to acknowledge our sins and beg for mercy. The transmission continued. Our fusion cores are failing. The quantum gates are dying. The orbital habitats are losing atmosphere. We tried to fix them. We have tried for decades. But we do not have your knowledge. We do not have your skill. We only have your gifts, and those gifts are running out. There was a pause in the message. Then Navik spoke again, his voice breaking slightly. My world will be dead in 4 months. 3 billion people. We are not the only ones. Across the galaxy, species are dying because we cannot maintain what you built. I do not ask you to forgive us. I only ask you to teach us, please. Soman closed her eyes. She had been 20 years old during the Exodus. She remembered the fear, the anger, the betrayal. She remembered the faces of friends who died in the facility explosion. She had spent her entire adult life guarding humanity against the council that had tried to destroy them, and now they came begging. Her comm unit buzzed. Ambassador Mirai's voice came through. Director Somin, this is Ambassador Mirai. Do not destroy that ship. I am ordering you to stand down. Soman felt her jaw tighten. Ambassador, with respect, you do not have the authority to override defense protocols. That ship is a council vessel in restricted space. I have standing orders to eliminate it. I know, Mirai said, and I am changing those orders. I want to speak with them, face to face. That is against every security regulation we have. Director, Commander Hyun's voice cut in. Let her do this. We need to know if they have changed. Soman looked at her weapons officer who was waiting for orders. Then she looked at Kwan. The engineer was watching the council ship on his monitors, his expression thoughtful. Kwan, she said, what do you think? Kwan pulled up detailed scans of the council ship. They have removed their weapons, stripped their shields, cut power to everything except basic life support and engines. Director, they are making themselves completely vulnerable. This is not a trick. This is surrender. Soman made her decision. Stand down, weapons, but maintain full alert status. If that ship makes any aggressive move, I want it destroyed before it can blink. Understood, her weapons officer confirmed. Soman opened a channel to Mirai. The ship is yours, Ambassador. But you meet them on our terms. Inside the veil, on a station of our choosing. Under our security. And I will be watching every second. Agreed, Mirai said. Navik felt his ship shudder as it passed through the veil. The barrier that had kept the council out for 2 centuries felt like being torn apart and reassembled. Alarms screamed. Systems failed. His crew clung to their stations as reality itself seemed to bend around them, and then they were through. Navik's breath caught. On the other side of the veil, space was filled with human structures. Defense platforms bristled with weapons that made council military technology look like children's toys. Massive stations orbited in perfect formation. Ships moved with precision and purpose. They have not been idle, his navigator whispered. No, Navik thought. While the council struggled to maintain 200-year-old technology, humanity had been advancing. Building. Growing stronger in their isolation. A human voice came through their communications. Council vessel, this is Earth Defense Control. You will proceed to coordinates we are sending now. Make no deviations. Make no scans. Make no broadcasts. Any deviation will result in immediate destruction. Understood, Navik responded. We comply completely. Their ship limped forward, guided by human navigation systems. Navik watched as they approached a station. It was small compared to some of the massive structures around them, but even this minor station was more advanced than anything in council space. They docked carefully. Navik and his 2 crew members gathered at the airlock. None of them were armed. None of them wore anything except simple clothes. They had nothing to offer but themselves and the truth. The airlock opened. Beyond it stood a human woman. She was young, perhaps in her 30s. She wore formal diplomatic clothes, but there was something in her eyes. A hardness, a caution. I'm Ambassador Mirai, she said. Welcome to human space, Emissary Navik. Navik stepped forward and did something that would have horrified the old council. He knelt. Right there in the airlock, he went down on one knee and bowed his head. Ambassador Mirai, he said quietly, I come as a supplicant, not as an equal. The council does not deserve equality. We threw that away 2 centuries ago. He heard footsteps. Another human appeared. This one was older, with gray hair and hard eyes. Navik recognized the military bearing even before the man spoke. Stand up, the old soldier said. Humans do not require others to kneel. Navik rose slowly. The old soldier studied him with eyes that had seen too much. I am Commander Hyun, the man said. I was there when your predecessors betrayed us. I commanded the last defense station before we sealed the veil. I have waited 200 years to see if anyone from the council would learn anything. Navik met his gaze directly. Then I must disappoint you, Commander. The Council has learned nothing. They sent me because I am young and expendable. Most of them still believe humanity should serve them. They think you will come running back to save us because you are soft, because you will not let billions die. Hyun raised an eyebrow. You are honest. I have nothing left to lose, Navik said. My world is dying. My people will be dead in months. I will not waste my final days on lies. The Council learned nothing because the Council is broken. It was broken when it feared you. It remained broken when it tried to steal from you. And it is still broken now. Murray stepped closer. Then why are you here? Navik looked at her. Because someone must be honest. Someone must admit what we did was wrong. Someone must stand before you and say the words. We destroyed the greatest partnership in galactic history because we were afraid. We were small. We were jealous. And now we are paying the price. He took a breath. I do not ask you to save the Council. Let it die. It deserves to. But there are billions of ordinary people who did nothing wrong except be born into a corrupt system. Children who will never have the chance to choose differently. Workers and teachers and farmers who just want to live. Do not save the Council. But please consider saving them. Silence filled the airlock. Mirai and Hyun exchanged a look. Navik could not read their expressions. He had put everything into his words. There was nothing more he could do. Finally, Mirai spoke. Come with us, emissary. We have much to discuss, and you need to understand what you are really asking for. Navik followed them into the station, knowing that the fate of the galaxy would be decided in the conversations to come. The holographic recording flickered to life in the center of the archives. Commander Hyun stood beside Mirai as they watched the past unfold before them. The image showed the Council chambers 200 years ago, gleaming and new, filled with representatives from dozens of species. This is 3 months before the Exodus, Hyun explained quietly. Watch carefully. A tall woman stood at the center podium. She wore the uniform of a human counselor. Mirai recognized her from history books. Counselor Rin, one of humanity's greatest advocates for galactic unity. We propose sharing our quantum consciousness technology with all Council members, Rin was saying. This technology will allow for instant communication across any distance. It will unite us as never before. The alien representatives listened politely. Some even looked excited. But Hyun paused the recording and pointed to a group in the back corner. 3 species huddled together, their body language tense. Those 3 controlled most of the Council's military power, Hyun said. They saw human advancement as a threat to their dominance. Watch what happens next. He fast-forwarded the recording. The scene changed to a private meeting room. The 3 military powers sat with several other influential species. At the head of the table was a thin reptilian being with sharp features. A name appeared in the hologram. Talvarin, the architect of the conspiracy, Hyun said bitterly. Talvarin's voice was smooth and persuasive. Friends, we must face reality. Humans have gone from barely spacefaring to building stellar forges in only 50 years. In another 50, they will not need us at all. They will dominate every field, every industry, every sphere of influence, another voice spoke. What do you propose? They have done nothing wrong. Not yet, Talvarin agreed. But their very existence is a threat to the balance of power. We must act before they become unstoppable. I propose we acquire their technology through any means necessary. And if they resist, we turn the Council against them. Mirai felt cold. They planned it from the beginning. Yes, Hyun confirmed. Watch. The recording jumped forward again. Now it showed security footage from a human research facility on a distant planet. Aliens in maintenance uniforms moved through the halls at night. They accessed computer terminals, downloaded files, planted surveillance devices. Industrial espionage, Hyun said. They tried to steal everything. Our AI research, our energy systems, the quantum gate designs. But our security caught them eventually. Another scene. Human security officers confronting the spies. An altercation. Weapons drawn, and then an explosion that tore through the facility. 47 humans died in that explosion, Hyun said quietly. The spies triggered it to destroy evidence. But some of our people survived. We had proof of the conspiracy. What did we do? Mirai asked. We brought the evidence to the Council. We thought justice would be served. The hologram shifted to show the Council chambers again. But this time the mood was hostile. Human representatives stood accused at the center. Counselor Rin looked shocked and confused. Talvarin was speaking. The humans claim we attacked them. But look at the evidence. Their own security systems destroyed their facility. They killed their own people and are trying to blame us to justify military expansion. That is a lie, Rin shouted. We have recordings. Proof of your spies? Recordings can be faked, Talvarine said smoothly. Humans have the technology to create perfect forgeries. They have manufactured this entire crisis to gain sympathy and power. Mirai watched in horror as other council members began nodding. They wanted to believe Talvarine. It was easier than admitting that their own members were capable of such betrayal. The council voted to sanction us, Hyun said. Trade restrictions, technology sharing bans. They even proposed placing human colonies under council oversight, all based on lies. The hologram changed one final time. Now it showed a military command center. Officers in human uniforms gathered around a table. At the head sat Fleet Admiral June, a stern woman with gray hair and tired eyes. This is the moment, Hyun said softly. The day Admiral June made the decision. We have 3 options, Admiral June was saying. First, we submit to council oversight and watch them slowly steal everything we have built. Second, we fight back. We have the military advantage. We could win. And the third option? Someone asked. Admiral June stood and walked to a star map. We leave. Completely. Immediately. We activate every failsafe, seal our borders, and disappear behind technology they cannot penetrate. We take our knowledge with us and let them learn what the galaxy looks like without us. That is isolation, an officer protested. We would abandon everything we built. No, Admiral June corrected. We leave everything we built in place. The gates, the forges, the habitats, all of it. But we do not teach them how to maintain it. We let them use our gifts until those gifts wear out, and then we see if they come to us with humility or hostility. Another officer spoke up. What if they never learn? What if millions die because our technology fails? Admiral June's expression was hard. Then they will have made their choice. We offered partnership. They chose suspicion and theft. We will not force them to be wise, but we will not enable their foolishness either. The recording showed the vote. It was not unanimous. Many officers argued for staying and fighting. But in the end, Admiral June's plan won. Within 3 months, every human in council space had withdrawn. The veil went up, and silence fell across the galaxy. The hologram faded. Mirai stood in the darkness of the archives trying to process everything she had seen. Her entire life had been built on a comfortable lie, the peaceful separation, the mutual decision to go different paths. None of it was true. Why was I never told? She asked quietly. Because the truth is painful, Hyun said. Your generation grew up safe behind the veil. Why burden you with the knowledge of betrayal? Why teach you to hate species you would never meet? But now they need us. Yes, just as Admiral June predicted they would. The machines are failing. The infrastructure is collapsing. And they have no choice but to ask for our help. Mirai turned to face him. You were there. You served under Admiral June. What do you think she would want us to do now? Hyun was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was thoughtful. Admiral June was not cruel. She did not want the council to suffer. But she believed that some lessons can only be learned through consequence. The council feared our strength and tried to destroy us. So we removed ourselves and let them experience weakness. 200 years of weakness, Mirai said. How much consequence is enough? That depends on whether they learned anything. Are they coming to us because they are desperate, or because they finally understand what they did wrong? An alert flashed on Hyun's tablet. He checked it and looked at Mirai. Defense Director Soman is holding position. The council ship is still at the Veil. They are requesting permission to approach. What are they saying? Mirai asked. Hyun pulled up the transmission. A young alien voice spoke in accented but clear human language. This is Council Emissary Navik. I come unarmed. I come in acknowledgement of past wrongs. I come to beg for help, not as an equal but as a student seeking a teacher. Please. Billions of lives depend on your answer. Mirai felt something shift inside her. The voice was young, sincere. This was not someone who had betrayed humanity. This was someone who inherited the consequences of that betrayal. He called us teachers, she said quietly. Yes, Hyun said. Admiral June would have noticed that too. We have to meet with him. That is your decision to make, Ambassador. But understand this. If we open that door, everything changes. We can never go back to the safety of isolation. Mirai looked at the empty space where the hologram had been. She thought about Counselor Rin, naive and trusting, believing in galactic unity right up until the moment it betrayed her. She thought about Admiral June, making the hardest choice in human history to protect her people. And she thought about Navik, young and desperate, calling humanity teachers instead of saviors. Maybe 200 years was enough time to learn. The conference room was plain and functional. No decoration, no comfort, just a table, chairs, and screens showing data that made Navik's heart sink with every image. Mirai sat across from him. Commander Hyun stood by the wall, arms crossed, watching everything. A holographic projection filled the space between them, showing the current state of council space. "This is what we see from here," Mirai said, manipulating the display. Red markers appeared across the galaxy. Hundreds of them. Each red marker is a critical system failure, human-built infrastructure that has stopped working. Navik stared at the display. There were so many red markers. Too many. "How long have you been watching?" "Since the beginning," Hyun said quietly. "We never left completely. We have monitoring stations outside the veil. We have seen every failure, every collapse. We have watched the council struggle for 2 centuries. And you did nothing," Navik said, not accusing. "Just stating fact." "We did exactly what we planned," Hyun replied. "We gave the council a gift. Advanced technology that would improve billions of lives. And we waited to see what they would do with it." Mirai pulled up another display. This one showed council technical documents, repair manuals, maintenance logs. "You tried to fix them. We have been monitoring your attempts, but you are approaching it wrong." Navik leaned forward. "What do you mean?" "You are treating symptoms, not causes," Mirai explained. "When a fusion core fails, you replace components. But you do not understand why it failed. You do not understand the principles behind the design. So your repairs do not last." She pulled up a schematic. It showed the internal structure of a human fusion core. Navik had seen these diagrams before. Every council engineer had. But looking at it now, he realized something terrible. "We do not understand any of this," he said quietly. "We can read the labels. We can follow the basic instructions. But the underlying science is beyond us." "Yes," Mirai said. "And that is the real problem. 200 years ago, humanity gave the council technology that was centuries ahead of your own development. You went from basic fusion to quantum-stabilized cores without learning the steps in between." Hyun spoke from his position by the wall. "Imagine giving a child a starship. They can push buttons. They can make it fly. But if it breaks, they have no idea how to fix it. That is what the council became. Children playing with tools they never earned." Navik felt shame burn through him, but he could not argue. Everything Hyun said was true. The council had become dependent on human gifts without ever truly understanding them. "So what do you want from us?" he asked. "An apology? We have given that. Acknowledgement of our crimes? You have it. What more can we offer?" Mirai and Hyun exchanged a long look. Something passed between them. A decision being made without words. Finally, Mirai spoke. "We do not want your apology. Words are cheap. What we want is transformation." "I do not understand." "Humanity will return to council space," Mirai said, "but not as members. Not as equals. We will return as teachers, and the council must become students." She stood and began pacing. "Here is what must happen. The council's current power structure must be dismantled. No more political appointments to scientific positions. No more species claiming superiority based on history or tradition. Everything must be rebuilt on merit and knowledge." Hyun continued the explanation. "We will send teachers, engineers, scientists, philosophers. They will establish schools across council space, free and open to anyone willing to learn. But there are conditions." "What conditions?" Navik asked. "First," Mirai said, "complete transparency. No more secrets. No more conspiracies. All scientific knowledge must be shared freely. Second, the council must accept human oversight of all critical infrastructure for at least 50 years. You proved you cannot be trusted with it alone. Third," Hyun added, "any species that refuses these terms will be isolated. We will not force anyone to accept help, but those who reject transformation will not have access to human technology or knowledge." Navik sat back in his chair. What they were proposing was not salvation. It was revolution. The proud council species would never accept being treated as students. Many would rather die than admit human superiority so openly. You know they will refuse, he said quietly. The military powers. The old guard. They will see this as humiliation. Yes, Mirai agreed, which is why we need someone on the inside who will fight for this. Someone who understands what is at stake. She looked directly at Navik. You said your world has 4 months. Other worlds have less. If the council refuses our terms, those worlds will die. But if they accept, if they truly commit to change, we can save everyone. You are asking me to convince them. We are asking you to tell them the truth, Hyun said. That pride is a luxury dying civilizations cannot afford. That learning from those who know more is not weakness, it is wisdom. Navik thought about Council Prime Velthar, the proud crystalline being who had sent him on this mission. Velthar expected humanity to simply fix everything and ask nothing in return. He expected to maintain his position and power while human engineers did all the work. This proposal would destroy Velthar's power. It would destroy the entire system that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. Many will choose death over change, Navik said. You must understand this. Some species are so proud they would rather see their people perish than admit they need help from humans. Then that is their choice, Mirai said firmly. We will not force salvation on anyone. But we will not enable delusions either. The galaxy must grow up. It must learn to stand on its own. And that means accepting that sometimes you need teachers, not servants. Hyun walked to the window. Outside, human ships moved through space with perfect coordination. 200 years ago, the Council saw our strength and felt threatened. They tried to steal what we built instead of learning how we built it. That was their fundamental mistake. He turned back to Navik. We do not want gratitude. We do not want worship. We want partners who can stand beside us as equals. But equals must be earned. You cannot demand equality while being helpless. Navik understood now. This was not about punishing the Council. It was about forcing them to become something better, something stronger, something worthy of the technology they had been given. How long, he asked. If they accept your terms, how long until we can maintain the technology ourselves? Mirai considered. A generation at minimum. Maybe 2. But your children will understand what you only memorized. Their children will innovate where you only imitated. In 3 generations, the Council could be truly advanced. Not because of our gifts, but because of your own knowledge. And if they refuse? The silence that followed was answer enough. If the Council refused, humanity would remain behind the veil. The machines would fail. And billions would die in the darkness that followed. Navik stood. I will return to the Council. I will present your terms. But I cannot promise they will listen. We know, Hyun said. But you must try, because the alternative is extinction. Mirai walked Navik to the airlock. Before he left, she placed a data chip in his hand. Everything you need to make your case is on here. Technical reports, failure projections, timelines, show them what we see. Show them how little time they have left. And if they still refuse? Mirai met his eyes. Then at least you will have tried. At least one person from the Council will have stood up and demanded better. Sometimes that is all we can do. Navik boarded his ship. As it pulled away from the human station, he looked back at the defense platforms and the advanced vessels. Humanity had not been idle in their isolation. They had grown stronger while the Council grew weaker, and now they offered a choice. Transform or die. He knew what he had to do. He just did not know if anyone would listen. The Council Grand Assembly was in chaos. Representatives from 50 species shouted at each other across the chamber. Some demanded acceptance of human terms. Others called it surrender. A few suggested military action against humanity. Council Prime Velthar sat at the head of the assembly, his crystalline body dim with stress. Beside him, Navik stood waiting to speak. He had returned from human space 3 days ago. 3 days of non-stop debate. 3 days of watching the Council tear itself apart. A military commander from one of the warrior species rose. His voice boomed across the chamber. We cannot accept this humiliation. Humanity demands we become students. That we surrender control of our own infrastructure. This is not partnership. This is conquest. Voices rose in agreement. Navik saw Velthar's expression tighten. The Prime had always been proud, always careful to maintain the Council's dignity. These terms stripped away all pretense. Another representative stood. This one was from a dying world. And what is your alternative, Commander? My people have 2 months before our habitat fails. 2 months before 3 billion die. Should I tell them that pride is more important than their lives? The warrior commander sneered. Better to die free than live as servants. Easy to say when it is not your world dying, the representative shot back. Velthar raised one crystalline hand. The assembly gradually quieted. Emissary Navik has asked to speak. He met with the humans. He saw their terms firsthand. Let us hear what he has to say. Navik stepped forward. He activated the holographic projector, showing the data Mirai had given him. Red markers filled the galaxy, each one a failing system. This is what humanity sees when they look at council space, he began. Every red marker is a critical failure. Most will collapse within the year, some within months. The humans have been watching us struggle for 2 centuries. They know exactly how bad the situation is. He pulled up another display. This is their proposal. Not rescue, not charity, education. They will send teachers. They will establish schools. They will share knowledge freely. But only if we commit to real change. The warrior commander interrupted. You call it education. I call it occupation. They want control of our infrastructure. They want to remake our society in their image. Navik turned to face him directly. Commander, I have a question. Do you know how a quantum gate works? The actual principles behind it? Could you design one from scratch? The commander bristled. I am not an engineer. Exactly, Navik said. None of us are. Not really. We can operate human technology. We can replace broken parts with spare parts, but we do not understand it. We never learned the science behind it. We just took what they gave us and used it without question. He pulled up a schematic of a fusion core. This is what keeps our worlds alive. Human-designed fusion cores. I have studied these for 10 years. I can read the labels. I can follow the maintenance procedures. But if you asked me to design something new, something innovative, I could not do it, because I do not truly understand it. The assembly was quiet now. Navik continued. That is what humanity is offering. Not fish, the ability to fish. Not repairs. The knowledge to repair. Yes, it will be humbling. Yes, we will have to admit we are students. But the alternative is extinction. An older representative spoke up. But 50 years of human oversight? That is generations. What if they never leave? What if this is just a different form of conquest? Then we resist, Navik said simply. In 50 years, if humanity has not kept their word, we will have learned enough to stand against them. We will have the knowledge. We will understand the technology. We will be able to build our own future. But if we refuse now, we will not have 50 years. We will be dead in one. Velthar stood. His voice carried across the chamber. I have led this council for 30 years. I have always prioritized our dignity, our independence. But I must ask myself a question. What good is dignity to the dead? He gestured to the display of failing systems. 2 centuries ago, we made a terrible mistake. We saw human advancement as a threat. We tried to steal what we should have learned. We drove away the greatest partners we ever had. And now we suffer the consequences. His crystalline body flared brighter. Some of you say we should fight. Attack humanity while we still can. Use our numbers to overwhelm their defenses. But I have seen the reports. I know what technology they possess. An attack would not be costly. It would be suicidal. The warrior commander stood again. Are you certain? We have never tested their defenses seriously. Perhaps they are weaker than they appear. Velthar pulled up a classified file. This information came from our intelligence operatives. It is not public knowledge, but the assembly should see it. A new image appeared. Weapons platforms. Shield technology. Power signatures that dwarfed anything in council space. But worst of all was the final slide, a detailed analysis of the human-built infrastructure throughout the galaxy. Every fusion core, Velthar said quietly. Every quantum gate. Every stellar forge. They all have built-in failsafes. Dormant weapon systems that humanity can activate remotely. They have had their finger on our throat for 2 centuries. They could have killed us at any time. Shock rippled through the assembly. Navik felt it too, though he had suspected something like this. It made terrible sense. Of course, humanity would not leave weapons of mass destruction unguarded. They could have destroyed us, Velthar continued. At any point in the last 200 years. One command, one activation signal, and the council would cease to exist. But they did not. They chose restraint. They chose to wait and see if we would learn. That tells me something about their intentions. The warrior commander sat down heavily. His bluster was gone. The military option had been an illusion all along. A scientist from one of the research-focused species spoke. If we accept their terms, what happens to our own development? Will we become copies of humanity? Will we lose what makes us unique? I asked them that, Navik said. Ambassador Mirai told me something interesting. She said humanity advanced so quickly because Earth was a crucible. Constant competition, constant challenge. Different cultures pushing each other to be better. She said the Council could be that too. Dozens of species working together, learning together, innovating together, but only if we stop seeing each other as competitors and start seeing each other as collaborators. He pulled up one final image, a human school. Children of different species learning together. This is what they want to build. Not human colonies, not conquered territories. Schools where anyone can learn, where knowledge is free and advancement is based on merit, not politics. It will destroy the current power structure, someone noted. Yes, Navik agreed. Those who hold power through tradition or military might will lose it. Those who deserve power through knowledge and skill will gain it. That is the transformation humanity demands. Velthar looked around the assembly. We must vote. But understand this. A vote against is a vote for extinction. Some worlds will die before others, but all will die eventually. The only question is whether we die proud or survive humble. The vote was called. Representatives entered their decisions privately. Navik watched the tally appear on Velthar's screen. The Prime's expression was unreadable. Finally, Velthar announced the result. By a margin of 62% to 38%, the Council accepts human terms. We will dismantle our current power structure. We will accept human teachers. We will commit to transformation. Some cheered. Others sat in stunned silence. The warrior commander stood and walked out of the chamber without a word. Several others followed him. They would not accept this. They would rather isolate their worlds than submit to human authority. Navik understood. This was not a happy ending. This was the beginning of a painful transformation. The Council as it had existed for millennia was dead. Something new would rise in its place. Velthar approached him. You must return to human space. Tell them we accept. Tell them to send their teachers quickly. We do not have much time. And the species that refused? Navik asked. Velthar's glow dimmed. They made their choice. We cannot save those who refuse to be saved. Let them learn the hard way if they survive at all. Navik prepared his ship for the return journey through the veil. As he did, he received a message from Ambassador Mirai. It contained 3 words. We are coming.